This is WBRW TV News. I'm Jeannie Lurchin, along with Richard Corey, with a look at what's happening in the Tri-Community area this week. An investigation has begun in Bruce Township to discover who is responsible for releasing confidential Blue Cross information to someone in the public. Township Clerk Susan Brockmann has this to say.
Thanks for giving me the opportunity to address this very serious issue that occurred as a result of our last meeting on February 17th. First, I want to give a brief explanation of why the Blue Cross Blue Shield bill would have been questioned for those residents who may not be familiar with some ongoing contentious discussions at our board meetings regarding continuation health care for our former clerk and supervisor who retired in November of 2008. I would like to explain that after 28 years of service to this township, our former clerk and supervisor were assured a retiree health benefit. Unlike other municipalities that promise salaries, pensions, and other benefits, this is the only ongoing benefit they received. It stirred up a lot of controversy lately, and I'm happy to address any of those concerns to anyone wishing to come by the township during normal business hours. I am available most every day and happy to go over the details. But today, I'm here to address this breach of security that occurred as a result of an inquiry regarding these two retirees to Blue Cross and Blue Shield. A few weeks ago, I received a call from a Blue Cross Blue Shield field investigator who was working off of an anonymous tip he received on their hotline that we had two former employees on our active suffix as if we were treating them like active employees as opposed to retired. I became suspicious of the call as he had personal information that could only be obtained from having access to our Blue Cross bill. This bothered me because these bills not only contain suffix and billing information, but names, social security numbers, and dependent information for our township and fire department employees. I declined to answer his questions until I investigated further his identity. If he was calling on behalf of Blue Cross, he would already have this information. He called back within a few hours and told me he was closing his case. He was new to the position, an investigator for Blue Cross, and found that he could look up the information he required on his own. And he also let me know we were in total compliance with these two retirees being listed on our current suffix. The investigator appreciated the fact that I was not willing to give any information over the phone without first verifying his intention. It did continue to bother me as I am not only the HR manager, but also as clerk, the keeper of the records. We are very careful to protect our employees' private records, and they are not subject to FOIA requests. I was very concerned with this breach of security and thought I should make the other board members aware that the possibility was there that this information had been used by the anonymous caller to lodge a complaint against us. I had assumed that the anonymous call had been made from one of the 5 people who might have access to the bill itself. I was shocked at our last board meeting when a resident stood up during our meeting and announced that he was the anonymous caller to Blue Cross. I now had a serious problem because I now know that private information went outside the walls of our building. This has sparked an internal investigation to find out how this information went out. Only 5 people have access to this bill. All are employed at Bruce Township, and none are the resident who identified himself to be the anonymous caller. We have 2 employees who open the mail. I have an accounts payable clerk who pays the bill. Then the bills are sent out with the checks to myself and the treasurer. The accounting office is a locked office, and these records are kept for 7 years after audit and then shredded with only myself or my deputy handling these documents. They are never left out for the public and never thrown in regular garbage or recycled. As part of our internal investigation, I have contacted Blue Cross Blue Shield of Michigan. As luck would have it, this field investigator who originally called me is a former police officer and is helping us to retrieve any information available from their hotline. Typically, these calls are recorded, and we are hoping to have a copy of that phone call. We also have asked for the 5 people who might have access in our office to the bill to cooperate in this investigation, and the supervisor has sent a letter to the resident asking for his cooperation in this matter. I did receive a call from one of our residents on Friday who watched the board meeting and wanted to come forward with some additional information. It seems that they were mailed a packet with township information that contained some personal information. They did not request this. The caller has identified the official that mailed them the packet, and the supervisor will be acting on this information himself. I did not receive nor mail anything. I am the designated FOIA coordinator, and all FOIA applications come through my office as a means of assuring that they are lawful requests. No such FOIA request was received. If it contained personal information and was not cleared through the clerk's office, it is a serious, serious matter. The township has adopted a policy that provides that anyone distributing personal information of employees without expressed permission is a violation, which includes discipline up to and including termination. Obviously, if the person breaking the rules is an elected official, there are sanctions aimed at solving that as well. You should also be aware of state and federal statutes which make this a criminal action. Only recently, a city manager in a northern community was arrested for a similar deed. As the investigation continues, we will do our best to keep you informed on our progress. In the interim, feel free to contact my office with any questions. Thanks, Jeannie.
The Village of Romeo is dealing with some tough financial problems, and the Board of Trustees are trying to find a way through it. At the heart of the issue is the $850,000 owed to Ford Motor Company. Macomb County Sheriff Mark Hackel, who has been considering a run for the county executive position, threw his hat into the ring last week at a press conference in Shelby Township. WBRW was there, and I got a chance to ask Mark a few questions. I look up on your headquarters wall, and I see this calendar for the next, from February 2010 all the way up until the general election. How are you going to manage and allocate your time as sheriff and as a candidate?
Great question. Some of the stuff that I used to do, I don't want to give an impression. Some people are going to wonder, okay, is he now talking to the media about, the car accident that happened, at a particular location, or somebody who had their, house broken into? Is he doing that for political reasons now, or is he doing that because he's a sheriff? So many of those responsibilities of actually talking to the media are pretty much going to be transferred over to some people within the department. And why I say that? Because I don't want people getting an impression I'm trying to do that at the grandstand. The actual day-to-day operations and working as a sheriff, difficult to balance, and some people will be critical of that, but for the most part, I've always been engaged in the community, whether as a sheriff or as Mark Hackel. It seems that both have kind of morphed together, and I've been, whether it's in the morning, at nighttime, I've always been engaged in things that are going on in the community. I'm going to continue to do that. I don't think anybody would question my dedication to that department, knowing that I would never give up the time that needs to be spent there to deal with those issues. I got a great staff, great workforce. It's something that I truly love, and I have a passion for. This thing about running for county executive, for me, it's more the educational time that I'm going to be putting into it. I'm always at functions. I'm always at parties. I always go out on the weekends and the evening hours, so that's going to continue. But during the day, you're going to see Mark Hackel working and operating as a sheriff, and even in the evenings, you're going to see Mark Hackel working as a sheriff. It's just I'm going to have to fluctuate certain times, I guess, in the evenings to do other things that might deal with a campaign.
Great. And I know you've been a great supporter of Channel 6, so we just want to thank you and wish you well.
Well, we appreciate you covering some of the stories and getting the information out to the public. Helps us.
Great.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thanks a lot.
At the 42nd District Court in Romeo, Sandy Kegler has been appointed to fill the shoes of retiree Diane Smiles as the new court administrator. Also in District Court news, the court could possibly be on the chopping block as county officials took their first step toward making reductions toward balancing the budget. We contacted 42nd District Court presiding judge Denis LeDuc. Judge LeDuc, the county just gave the go-ahead to cut $1.4 million from Northern Macomb courts. The plan would be to merge the Romeo and New Baltimore courts in a single location, most likely in New Baltimore. Is that feasible?
Well, Jeannie, first I'd like to say that this is only at its very earliest possible stages. This is just the beginnings of discussions about the fiscal 2011 budget. But of course, I understand the County Board of Commissioners, and these are unprecedented economic times, has to be planning ahead, and they have adopted an outline for 2011 that suggests working towards that goal. There are problems with that. When you say the word feasible, I suppose, everything is feasible, but this is a state district court. In other words, I'm a state district judge. This is a state court,